Hey everybody, it's Henry.
And Sandy.
And this is our special guest this week, Cindy Curcio.
Cindy Curcio.
And she is a child advocate in education. You know, one of the things that has come up not only just in conversation locally with friends and colleagues and even the children has been issues around the standardized testing, the Common Core testing and
how do they
the
get their
MCAS
schools
and the
back,
park.
you know?
And we even did a talk up more with kids last week where they wanted to talk about their misgivings around park and or not.
Right.
Because not every kid was, devastated by it, but they wanted to talk about it. It came completely out of them. Talk a little bit about your grandson and sort of how you got involved in this kind of advocacy.
Well, it began when he was in third grade, and I started to see a change in curriculum. Mm-hmm. I've been helping my son raise his two boys, and by fourth grade, the curriculum was completely different from what it had been in third grade. It was kind of like the mid-year point, the after Christmas break, when I saw these changes in how mathematics was handled specifically. And my grandson's now a sixth grader, the oldest one, and I have a first grader as well. Oh. So I'm seeing what happens on both ends of the elementary level of the Common Core curriculum. My delving into it deeper came as a result of my grandson staying after school one day to be in a math prep class of some kind. Yeah. I wasn't really quite aware of it. He cleared it with Dad, and I needed to pick him up. Right. And so I asked him about it when we got in the car, and I said, what is this class that you stayed after school for? Now, he got out of school at 2:40, and I picked him up at 4:30. That's a long day when you're in fifth grade, early fifth grade. And so he explained to me, he said, well, we were told that we were specially selected, and only certain kids, only certain ones of us were going to take the test. And I was one of the kids that was going to take the test. So I asked him what the test was. And he said, it's PARCC, which is PARC. PARC is an acronym for Partnership and Assessment for College and Career Ready Curriculum, which is Common Core. It's related to Common Core.
Oh, it is.
MCAS standards have also been adjusted to work with the Common Core curriculum. So I started investigating on my own. Not a lot of information out there, little bits here and there. Yeah. And gradually I ran across more people that were concerned about what was going on. What concerned me the most was that there was never any notification to families of changing school curriculum. There was never any notification to families about park testing, replacing MCAS. It was all kind of hush-hush, and that bothered me a bit. So
I felt that too.
Did you?
Yeah, we work with kids a lot, and I felt like, where is this coming from?
Right.
All of a sudden it was park.
All of a sudden, I'm like, okay.
When did this happen?
And what's going on? Now, and I think you assumed that it was just taking over the MCAT.
Not in addition to.
Right. And then the kids clarified that it was in addition to all the other testing. It's in addition to
all the other testing that they're doing. And is it true that the MCAS are about not evaluating the children as much as it's really about evaluating the teacher?
Well, it's evaluating the teachers through the children.
Right.
The children are being used as a tool to measure school district.
To me.
No, it doesn't.
No, it's putting them kind of in the middle.
It does. And really what they're trying to do is find out how different school districts are performing. And, I've heard a lot
of... funding is based on those
numbers. That was something I was going to get to, believe it or not. You read my mind. The funding is not necessarily tied to performance, but judgment is tied to performance.
That's for sure.
Okay, and teachers are judged by this. School principals, school committees, school administrations.
Where you buy a house.
Yeah, and people see the statistics. You can look up Massachusetts school ratings, and you can see who's number one, and you can see who's number 250, whatever it is.
Yeah, so how is park different then?
Well, from that perspective, it's not different at all. It's not different at all. But what is different about park is, first of all, the test is an experiment. It's in experimental phases at this point. Secondly, there's no data about how it's been over the past 2 years while it's been implemented in a sporadic basis. There's those two things. But the thing that's most concerning to me is that the ultimate goal of this test is that it will be computerized for everybody. And the next most important thing is that the test will be adaptive. So we have, children who are the lowest performers and children who are the highest performers, and we have a bunch in the middle. The objective of the curriculum is to make more people be in the middle.
So this is a comparison test.
Well, when I say adaptive, what happens is a bright child sits down and he answers question 1 and he gets it right. So next question is a little bit more difficult. And it becomes more difficult and more difficult and more difficult.
So and it's computerized, so it
rationalizes on its own what the next question is. So what we're doing is we're taking, little Johnny who's top performing and little Billy who's low performing, and they're both taking a test. But little Billy can't answer the hard question, so his next question is easier. But then we're comparing them statistically. Okay. So we're saying, they all got a B-.
Does that take into account, though, that there are some really highly intelligent children who don't test well? Does that take into that account
I don't think so. I think that everybody takes a test the same way. So special education kids who might have a classroom aide, someone who is dyslexic or whatever, they don't have support during the test. They lack their classroom supporter. When they're taking the test.
When I heard somebody, I don't know, I was walking or children were talking amongst themselves, and I heard a child say, I didn't have to take it today because I didn't take my medicine. Okay.
That I'm not aware of, but that's very interesting.
Very interesting what we're creating. It's like, what is this?
Right.
I mean, we have to...
And it's nationalizing education, right? Is this a good thing to do to our kids?
Yeah.
And there was a gentleman who mentioned to me, well, if we're going to change MCAS, well, first of all, MCAS was written, 15, 20 years ago in that time frame. Okay, it might need modernizing. In fact, it does need modernizing.
Yeah.
But even with the MCAS exam, without any modernizing, our kids were testing as number 1 nationally. And we weren't doing so badly on a global scale. So it's like, are we throwing the baby out with the bathwater here? Right. And then, are we throwing the baby out with the bathwater and spending millions, if not billions, of tax dollars to do this? Because ultimately, of course, it's going to be the newest and the bestest of technology that cities and towns will have to pony up the cash for. And are we going to be doing our kids a disservice, in other areas?
Now, does the funding for these programs, these testing programs, does that come from federal taxes? Does that come from state taxes, city taxes?
I think it's going to be a combination of all of it. The initial formulation of the testing was by a grant from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
I hear they have a really big influence in the way that...
It's an enormous influence. It's the driving. It's the driving force behind it. And there were
too much power, like you said.
It's too much.
There were no educators writing these textbooks. It was business people. Right. But they used educators to validate the information. And what's most important to note is the 2 subjects where Common Core is really the heavy hitter in the classroom is mathematics and English language arts, ELA. Right. Okay?
Yeah.
So Dr. Sandra Stotsky, who was the architect of the ELA portion of MCAS exams, and she was instrumental in pretty much every aspect of teacher training and everything else that goes along with MCAS. She refused to sign off on it because it was inadequate. Okay, Dr. Milgram, and Dr. Milgram is well known for putting men on the moon. He did all the mathematical computations. So if I was going to trust a mathematician, I think I'd probably trust a guy that can do that. That's my personal opinion.
Right.
Okay? Yeah. But he refused to sign off on the mathematics. And in fact, stated that our children will be 2 years deficient in mathematics and be denied entry into one of our higher education universities that specializes in what they call STEM careers. And that's science, technology, engineering, mathematics.
Yeah.
Well, my oldest grandson is a math whiz of sorts. It's his favorite subject. And his constant complaint in 6th grade is that he is sick to death of doing 3rd grade math at this point. He's had it up to here. He's completely lost interest in school, and in fact said yesterday he hates school.
Wow.
And
we're creating a monopoly, I feel like, in our school system. I feel like we're giving certain people too much power over
I would agree.
what happens in
I would agree.
Well, and that leads to my question. I've asked a number of people, how much autonomy do we have as a school system? The Gloucester Public Schools, Rockport, Manchester.
Anybody.
How much autonomy does a school have to create curriculum? I mean, or are they completely under the thumb of the federal
I think that
powers that are
they have some leverage.
They do.
I think it's a 15% leverage in curriculum adjustment.
That could be significant, though.
Yes, it can. Absolutely. I don't deny that at all.
Can a school or a school system opt out of these?
Do they have a choice? Like
not.
What are the options?
Yeah.
Well, opt out of Common Core.
Yeah.
There are cities and towns in the Commonwealth that have placed non-binding referendum on their ballots, and that is currently going on. There are fewer than more, unfortunately.
Why do you think that
is? Do we do it here? Have we done that?
I don't think so.
Gloucester has not done that.
Gloucester
No, it isn't one of the communities
I'm not sure
that's
about
done.
Rockport.
I'm not sure about
Manchester.
for Manchester,
No.
Essex.
I mean, can we do it, or why can we do it, or how can we do it? It's a complicated process. I mean, the money for it was the Governor's Council that got together and adopted these standards. Only 46 states participated. The remainder did not. And there were, at one point, penalties. There was Race to the Top money that was tied into participation in Common Core.
What's that?
Race to the Top it's a federal program for improving education. And then there was the No Child Left Behind program, which was very restrictive, and a lot of schools really balked at it, and it was just not. It was tough on the economies and communities, and so along with the guarantee of Race to the Top money also came a waiver in not having to adhere to No Child Left Behind. So this was a real carrot, in front of the governors saying, jump into this and do this. This is going to be a great thing. Yeah. So Bill Gates funded it, and Pearson Publisher somehow became the sole source provider of textbooks, tests, the correction of tests.
Monopoly.
But they're not even an American company.
No, they're a corporation that is home based in England.
Right.
So we're outsourcing even our education.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Ow. I really want parents to know that we're having this discussion so we can give them choices and options.
And to know what your options
are.
I hear from a lot of parents that they just follow along because they think it's the law and they think that it's required and they have no choice. Being in having their children in public education, they can't afford to have them in private or independent schools.
Exactly.
And in the private independent sector, in my experience, because I was a longtime Waldorf teacher and administrator, the standardized tests were always optional, and we provided them, but there was no prep. There were no textbooks. There was no curriculum designed to teach to these tests. These children were being tested fully on their own intellectual merits.
Right.
And across the board, they scored into 80th percentile and up in every subject.
But those
so that was wait a minute. We're it's like that whole Einstein thing about teaching a fish to climb a tree.
Right, exactly.
How are we really evaluating what these children are capable of? What the park?
Right.
It sounds like it's a college preparedness test. I mean,
that's what they're saying that it is, but without results.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Who gets the results, and how are they evaluated?
The results have not been presented, and so we have really, with MCAS, the kids take the test, and granted, it takes between 4 and 6 months to get the results. But you have to consider that pretty much every kid in Massachusetts has taken these tests.
Who sees the results?
And they go to the families. They're mailed to the school department, the actual child's school, I think, and then the principal mails them home to the families.
But what's the purpose?
Right.
When he was saying about Waldorf I could see the purpose there was to find out where this child's abilities and talents.
Right.
Well, and how
are.
they, in their independent
Okay.
education system, how they compare to their peers in the mainstream.
Well,
How are they going to transition into
Yes.
mainstream education? You know, do they
Right.
have the tools and you know?
And when I look at these results, the state, every kid in the state is compared to every other kid in the state. That's what those statistics are. And this is ranking of school districts, ranking of individual schools within the districts. So my grandson was in a level 2 elementary school, but the middle school that he went into is a level 3. And now they're trying to raise the level of that school. So when my grandson was in 5th grade, he had one math class every day, just one.
Mm-hmm.
And there was test preparation. They took practice tests. And in some instances, I understand why the teachers are giving practice tests. And of course, this is part of the curriculum.
Right,
They're
they
required
have to do it, right.
They have to. But there is a plus. You know, as somebody who has a psychology background, I can see that we take away test anxiety for some kids. But in other kids, we increase test anxiety.
And that's where the medication
A
comes in.
lot of kids
Okay.
have test anxiety.
Right.
Yeah.
So my grandson took one math class a day, and when he took the exam, he got one question wrong. His score was in the 98th percentile in the state, okay? Compared to all the other math kids in the state, he was in the 98th percentile. And that's with one math class a day in a level 2 school. Now he goes to a level 3 school, and he hasn't taken the exam yet. To begin next week.
Is level 3?
Lower. It's
That's
not
lower.
as good.
Okay.
Right.
So
Level
they don't
1.
get as much funding, and they don't get as much.
Well, I think they still get the same amount of funding,
or
but they
what makes them a level 3? Just the grades that the kids
right
get?
the scoring of the kids in the class.
So when you're looking, when I mentioned house, where you buy a house, you laughed at me.
No,
But if
I
you-
didn't laugh. I was
Well,
just like, what
okay.
do you mean buying a house? What does that
Well,
have to do
if
with?
you go on a house search and you go into the education,
Yeah.
it will give you those levels,
The ranking.
of
Yep.
the school system
so
that
parents
you're
who are looking to
buying.
buy a house
Knows
will want
what
to buy in a neighborhood
In a good school
that they
district.
have.
that has like a level 4.
I
or
actually
level
know a
3.
doctor right now who asked me just last week, you know, what town should my husband and I be looking in from a school point of view? I said, why don't you look to this town that's nearest to the private school you want to send your kids to until we get this straightened out.
Yeah.
You know, until we get our...
We will get it straightened out.
Until we get our
Yeah.
kids
We will
back.
get it.
Okay?
I just, the comparison is making me like, we're comparing, and all this comparison does not equal happiness.
No, it
You know,
doesn't.
and Ronan left our Talk It Up More last week about
Yep.
if you want to know what that does not equal. I mean, it's the last commandment. I mean, we just don't covet what others have. We just don't do it, and that does not equal happiness. Like, we have to take it over. These kids are gonna be so.
Well, my concern, and my grave concern right now, is my oldest grandson. Now, this year he's in 6th grade in a middle school, level 3. And when he gets his schedule on the first day of school and comes home with his shiny new notebooks and his schedule, he has 2 math classes every day. 2. They did very poorly in math in that school last year. And that bothers me a bit because this is a kid, you show him once a math thing, and it's in there, and he can reproduce.
So it's repetitive.
It's
for
so
him.
repetitive.
It's too repetitive.
So what he does is in the second math class, and the second math class is to take those kids, and by the way, he's on the STEM track in school, which was never discussed with Dad. They never sent home a letter and said, you know, based on testing scores and his natural abilities and his love of mathematics, we are considering
His
placing
gifts.
your son in
Right.
the STEM track.
Yeah.
And, you know, please check approve or disapprove.
So how do we
No
empower
communication.
parents? How do we empower parents?
We need
Because
to
it's
educate
really
them.
in the
We need to
hands
educate them.
of the parents to make positive change.
Well,
in
according to the
education.
Constitution, the parents are the be-all, end-all
Yeah.
of their children,
That's
okay?
right.
But according to the government, we can cajole, we can intimidate,
Bully.
we can bully, and we
Right.
can say we have laws and do all of those kinds of things. And most parents, when they meet the first path of resistance, acquiesce. They cave
buckle.
in and they say, oh,
I
I have no power.
I don't know. I think parents are just go with their routine, and they're just going to what they feel like they have to do, you know, and they might not even be thinking about all this
Because they're not aware of
because
it.
they're not aware.
And,
Yeah.
and I fault the Department of Education for
Right.
that, okay? You know, if I have to lay blame anywhere, I don't lay blame with the superintendents, the school committees, or the teachers. Okay, they are doing what they're required to do by the mandates of the Department of Education.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that there should have been a lot more public discussion. Where was the press? Where was the media in all of this?
Well, somebody's paying for the media. I mean, somebody is deciding what people see,
what gets out and what doesn't.
What doesn't. So, you know, obviously, letters to the editor, op-ed pieces that people can write in. Are there any websites or phone numbers that we can put on this video that people can find out more information and find out what their options are, really and truly, to take the upper hand?
There are a lot of groups, but there are two very strong main groups that can provide a wealth of information. One of them is commoncoreforum.org, which is really the driving force behind creating educational forums for parents.
Excellent.
Working with legislators on law. We have a lobby day coming up April 15th, just a couple weeks away, at the State House in Boston.
Ironic that it's tax day. But
well,
anyway.
that's okay. And we have a wonderful room 437.
Okay.
The public can come.
Good.
We would be thrilled if the public would attend.
Yes.
We will be there in force at 8:15. Lobbying is from 9 to noon.
And will this be on the Common Core Forum website?
Yes, it is. It's on the Common.
We'll put that in the doobly-doo below.
Yeah.
So go and visit that website for more information about this event and others.
Yeah, there are others that are in the planning stages. We are planning a Common Core Forum for Gloucester. The
good.
speakers will be Dr. Sandra Stotsky, and as I'll back reference that she was the architect of the MCAS ELA in Massachusetts, an extremely intelligent, well-versed, well-spoken, very knowledgeable woman, and Jamie Gass, who is from Pioneer Institute, and that's an independent think tank. And so they've been assessing and evaluating this all along. And he's got the factual data, as does Dr. Stotsky. And we would love it if Mitchell Chester from the Department of Ed, he's the Commissioner of Education in Mass, we would love it if he would attend and be a speaker at the forum in Gloucester. It's a location to be determined, but the date is May 11th. And the time will be 7 to 9 p.m.
And the North Shore Folklore Theater Company is co-sponsoring this event, and so we'll have information on our website, northshorefolk.org. If you're not on our mailing list, go there and click the Stay in the Loop button and stay in the loop, because these are issues that affect all of us. It affects children's involvement in community organizations, the arts. This is why we're co-sponsoring this, because education is a big part of what we do.
It is. And I actually someone gave us the best compliment the other day. I ran into this mom and she said, if you and Henry homeschooled, offered
we
a
started a
homeschooling
school.
session, she's like, I would pull my kids out of school.
Well, this is a contemplation that we're
That's
wrestling
sad
with.
to me.
That's
I mean,
you know,
thank you, whoever said that. I just,
because
but
don't
I
even
feel like that's sad.
What I do, I just do.
You know,
naturally.
we want our children to love learning.
Yes.
We want them to love their education. Education, knowledge is power. We know that. We want these kids to be well-rounded. They're faced with a future we can't even imagine, just like our parents couldn't imagine the crazy world that we're in right now.
We never knew what we were headed for when we were in 5th grade.
But it's never been easy. It's never been completely peaceful. It's never been flaw-free. And so, you know, these kinds of forums that we're going to be producing coming up in May, and even talking up more, having guests come in and getting the community engaged in talking about these taboo subjects that we don't really get to talk about that much. We want your feedback. We want you to write into us at info@northshorefolk.org with questions, comments, and so forth. If you have any questions for Cindy, I'm happy to pass them on to her, and then we'll
I can give them a direct conduit. You can join the Facebook page. Stop Common Core Massachusetts, spell out Massachusetts, on Facebook.
We'll put that link below as well.
And I will approve membership for people, as will other of the leaders in the group. And if you have questions, we have a library there with tremendous research. We've been doing the homework a long time. And so there's a tremendous array of research materials, documents, laws, letters to refuse taking tests, or what people call opt out. The state calls it refuse. Just to clarify
so we can
that.
stop it on a state level.
Well, this is what Lobby Day is all about.
Okay.
And in June we'll be going. There's two other main things that are going to be happening besides the Lobby Day. There are going to be what are called listening tours going on. Governor Baker appointed a task force, and that task force is going to begin in April, I believe. I think it's like at the end of April. The locations are yet to be released. They're in the process of firming up the locations and the dates. But this task force is going out to listen to people.
Okay.
Common Core Forum people will be at every one of those listening tours. We will be wearing red. You can look for us in red clothes and find us like that. And
are they coming to Gloucester?
They're not going specifically to city. Well, they're going to some cities, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think it's being like North Shore, South Shore, that kind of Western Mass, that sort of thing.
Common Core Forum will have the information on where they'll be and when.
Yes, we will be publicizing
and
that
then on
information.
your Common Core Facebook page, you'll have that information as well.
Yes, it will be clearly placed out there, and we encourage parents to go out there. Now, the other thing is that I have been collecting stories from parents, teachers, and children who have had difficulty with Common Core. In order for us to make this be examined thoroughly and do its best for kids, because I'm all about the kids. Yeah. I mean, I love teachers. I actually teach, or was teaching.
Yeah.
Okay,
we love teachers. Props to teachers.
We love teachers.
And I like school administrators.
Teaching.
There's a guy on my grandson's town's school committee that, he and I are pals. We're Facebook friends, and I really love this guy because he's on the same page as me. Let's do what's right for the kids.
Yeah.
I don't want to do what's right for a corporation. I don't want to.
Well, and that's not to say either, just, the flip side of it is that there are some kids who test really well and who have no issue with the Common Core testing.
We know some of those kids.
We know some of those kids.
Like,
we have some, and we're like, yeah, it's going to be great, So it's it really is an individual thing,
right?
And we want to acknowledge that too, because I know that there are always two sides to every perspective, and we want to explore both of those sides. If you are a family that feels that these Common Core tests, the PARC and the MCAS, are good and they're right and they're important to your child and to their future and whatnot, respond to us, write into us, because we want to hear from you too. We want to offer that balanced view. We are passionate, all of us, about children. We are passionate about education and making sure that these kids get the best leg up and the best toolkit that they can develop for their future. Whether that's going to come out of Common Core testing is yet to be decided, I guess. But it's it should be, I believe, an option. It should be optional.
It should be.
Bottom line, should it be completely eradicated? I can't answer that. But I know in my heart, having been an educator in private schools, having been an arts educator in public schools for many, many years, I do believe that it should be optional, and the choices of families, of parents, and how their children are educated should be absolutely respected.
There has to be other ways out
and
there.
Guardians, parents,
there has to be other ways.
Right, and I think children who need accommodations should be accommodated.
Yes, like a standard like a testing package for this child works better for this child, or like a customized pill instead of like a manufactured pill that everybody takes.
That's standard,
There's
no standard child.
There's no standard child.
Why are we giving them
there's
standard
no standard
tests?
human being.
That's one of the issues.
Exactly.
That works with everybody.
One size does not fit all.
I just have one more. I have one more thing, real quick.
Yep.
Are there any, so Pearson is a company that provides all the school books and everything. Are there any other smaller companies in the state that can provide these testings that could voice what they could do, how they could
give other options?
Yeah.
Yes, there are.
There are.
There are.
Okay.
And a little bit of research. I mean, there are lots of publishers of textbooks out there, plenty of them. It's just this particular company was chosen for a reason that I don't know, and was aligned with the whole thing. And it's not a U.S. company, and it's
we should find out if there has ever been a publisher of curriculum, textbooks, tests, and so forth that was started actually by educators and not lawyers
and business people. I mean,
that's
even in this local area.
Because that's really what we're talking about
Right.
here is something that is sensitively created for students by the people who administer and work with children.
And one of the things I think would be most empowering is in changing what's going on currently is we give teachers back their power. I mean, I know when my grandsons go to school, the first month is spent in review. It's like, what'd you learn last year?
Right.
And the eager learners are like, gosh, this is so boring. I did this last year, But it gives the teacher an opportunity to assess every pupil that she's teaching, to get to know them a little bit, to learn their personality. And I saw this in the past with my older grandson, who was always good in math and be the first one done with the test, the first one done with the classwork. So she would give him something else to do, to keep him quiet, keep him from acting up in the class. And she's like, oh, him and his math, oh my word,
Yeah.
But she tuned into him as a
customized
person. Right.
To him.
And it was with no effort on her part. She saw a gap, and she found a way to fill it.
And
she bridged it.
That it acknowledges
she created a bridge.
Every human being has a unique learning style, and we can teach to that. We really, really can. We can have a large classroom of children and still teach to their individual style
and
of learning.
I think teachers would love that.
And I believe, having been more than a decade in Waldorf education, I really think that it can serve as a model for mainstream public education if we let it. But teachers don't have that freedom to adjust curriculum. Children don't have the freedom to create their own textbooks based on what they are processing individually and how they express the information. It's genius.
And what they're passionate about to learn. Can you imagine walking in a classroom as a teacher and say, what do you want to learn about today?
Yeah.
What would the kids say?
Yeah.
Like, what would they say?
I think it would be joyous pandemonium.
Well, but there is a school. There's a Sudbury school it's called Unschooling.
Yeah.
That is exactly that. The children come in every day and they ask for what to learn. If a young child says, what does that say on the board? The teacher says, do you want to learn how to read that? Yeah, I do. The child's ready to learn how to read. Yeah. They're telling you what they're ready. If a seventh grader wants to learn rocket science or
it comes out of their
marine biology, they will find the tools and staff to educate these children where their natural proclivity is. So whether it's Waldorf, whether it's Montessori, which is also brilliant in its way, or
maybe
Sudbury.
Start doing this at home after school. Say, what do you guys want to learn about this weekend?
But kids are exhausted by the time they get home. They don't want to learn anything else.
Are really kids exhausted?
Yes, they are.
My first grader.
So they wouldn't come home and be like, Ma, I learned this today in school, but I really want to learn this.
Well,
Can we take this trip this weekend? Or let's go learn about this. Kids are not passionate anymore.
I'm not seeing the passion in my grandsons. What I'm seeing is exhaustion. And I'm listening to tears during homework. I'm listening to my wrist hurts from writing circles.
Not wanting to get up in the morning and go to school.
Don't want to go to school. Hate school. I'm hearing a lot of negatives where in the past I would hear positives. When my youngest grandson was in kindergarten, there was no curriculum mandates really. And he was in a private kindergarten for a while.
Okay.
And he would come home, oh, Nana, I learned this today.
Right.
And he was excited. And just little things. Of course, I know these things. But it's like, oh, tell me more.
Right.
Tell me more about what you learned. I love science, Nana. And and the oldest one before this curriculum was just, oh, that's so easy. I see how children intuitively learn, especially kids that are math prone. My grandson got an iPad when he was 7 or 8 years old, and I got an iPad just 2 years ago, and he is teaching me things with this iPad, but he's never had any instruction in it.
Right.
He's just intuited it,
Right.
And that is lost in the classroom. I see that as being lost. I think one of the greatest tragedies is with mathematics is that they've incorporated ELA into math. And it's not ELA is not his favorite subject.
Yes.
And it's like, here, you have this problem. And I
heard that.
He has the answer in his head.
We just heard about the math is different.
From the kids.
Right.
Yeah.
He's got the answer in his head. He can write the correct answer down that fast.
But
he's got to do it in 4 steps. That's the instructions.
They have to write out what
and then
their
he has
steps
to write
were.
a sentence about each one.
Exactly.
And this is a child who is very soft-spoken, barely speaks, He just is good. He's a great listener. He only speaks when he's really got something to contribute. And writing, for him to write something is it's 2 sentences where somebody else might take 3 pages.
Right.
He's just not really
verbose. And again, there are kids who are masterful at both, and there are kids who, we had one student say, "I love math, but I'm not good at it."
Yeah.
And every child has their own approach and their own experience with education, and so we could go on talking for hours and hours. We have to wrap this up.
I think we have to be careful because people are trying, or whoever's trying to figure our children out and figure us out. Well, we're human beings, and it's hard to figure us out.
It's a tough question. It's a tough conversation to have, but so important. And thank you so much for coming.
Oh, my pleasure.
Sitting with us. And
thank you for the time.
Mark on your calendar May 11th, because there is going to be a forum around this that the North Shore Folklore Theater Company and Common Core folks are going to be co-producing. And we'll have more information about that soon. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Write into us with your opinions, with your questions. Do a video question. We'll keep this conversation going because it's a really important one. Our kids are the most important. They are the future, after all. And we're handing them an inheritance that they may not want to inherit. So,
and then again, they may.
And some may. Okay, so that's fair. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week on Talk It Up More. Bye.